A news bird comes down to deliver the newspaper to the Straw Hat's ship, but it flies right back up because Nami is going crazy on Luffy. She's beating him so bad that Usopp and the others have nowhere to hide. Nami has Luffy in a headlock and his face is all swollen from the hits. She tells him he's unfit to be a captain. Luffy says sorry because he threw the ship down the waterfall and put everyone's lives in danger. Nami asks him how he dared to do that. Jinbei shows up and tells Nami to stop since nobody got seriously hurt. But Nami turns around and glares at him so hard that Jinbei's eyes go wide with fear. Usopp tells Jinbei not to get involved, and Chopper warns him not to go near angry Nami. Then, Luffy's stomach suddenly makes a growling sound. She realizes Luffy's stomach is rumbling because he's hungry and yells, "Are you seriously asking for food right now while I'm punishing you?" Meanwhile, Brook is playing his guitar in the background and Zoro is sleeping. After a while, Brook asks Franky if he's done. Franky says yeah, and asks Brook if he knows how strong the ship is. Even falling from that waterfall height, only the bottom part got a little damaged. Robin is watching all this from above with a smile. She sees the news bird and gets the newspaper. On the other side, Sanji brings coffee for Robin. Sanji melts when he sees Robin petting the bird's head. Robin opens the news and finds the new wanted posters. Zoro wakes up and everyone wants to see. Sanji rushes over, but Robin moves out of the way and all the posters go flying everywhere. Chopper is jumping around trying to catch his poster. His bounty is 1,000 berries. Brook's bounty is 383 million berries. On the other side, Usopp is shocked when he sees his bounty is 500 million berries. But Franky is disappointed with his 394 million bounty and complains that his poster shows the Thousand Sunny's figurehead instead of his actual face. Then Sanji comes down happy that his bounty went up. Sanji's bounty is 1,032 million berries. Someone asks Jinbei if that's his poster. Jinbei takes it and says he's happy to finally be recognized as a Straw Hat pirate. His bounty is 1,100 million berries. Zoro says, "How can you be satisfied with such a high bounty too?" Then Sanji sneaks over to look at Jinbei's bounty and gets shocked. He gets even more shocked when he sees Zoro's bounty is 1,111 million berries. Sanji is heartbroken, asking why Zoro's bounty is higher than his. Jinbei looks at Sanji's reaction and asks, "What's wrong?" Zoro tells Jinbei to ignore the boy in fourth place. Sanji gets mad and kicks Zoro, starting a fight over who's really fourth. During all this, Luffy is still stuck in the cage begging to be let out. Luffy's bounty went up to exactly 3 billion berries. After that, Jinbei tells Sanji and Zoro to stop fighting. Now, we go to Buggy's place. His men are talking excitedly about Mihawk. They say they saw Mihawk and he's the best swordsman in the world. They thought they were all going to die when the warlord system got abolished and the Marines surrounded them, but they escaped thanks to him. Inside the main building, Crocodile is holding Buggy's head. Mihawk is sitting on one side. Buggy is scared out of his mind and begs them to take everything but spare his life. Crocodile tells Mihawk that they founded Cross Guild together a long time ago. He asks Buggy why he's acting like the biggest boss. Buggy quickly says sorry. Mihawk points his sword at Buggy and says if saying sorry worked, this might be his first and last day as a pirate emperor. He also says if they let him go, it will bring them shame. Crocodile says he's so angry and embarrassed he can't even put it into words. Then, Galdino, also known as Mr. 3, walks in and makes fun of Buggy's situation. Buggy asks Galdino if he's betraying him. Galdino asks back when was he ever part of Buggy's crew. Buggy gets mad. Buggy's crew decides to join Crocodile because they think their captain is done for. After that, Galdino steps on both of Buggy's separated heads and says he's used up all his luck. Then, Mihawk remembers when the Marines attacked his island after the warlord system was abolished. The Marines surrounded his island and Mihawk was getting ready to leave when Crocodile contacted him. Crocodile asked Mihawk about his situation and told him that since the government abolished the system, he's just a pirate now. He said the Marines would come for him fast. Hearing this, Mihawk said he had things he needed to do. Crocodile told Mihawk to come to him. He said if the two of them worked together, they would become an organization the government couldn't ignore. Mihawk thought about it. Crocodile told Mihawk that he was once a marine hunter. He added that since neither of them trusted each other, it would actually work out well. Back to the past when the Navy attacked Buggy's island. Buggy was collecting his treasures and trying to escape, but his men came and told Buggy they should fight back against the Marines. Buggy just pretended to encourage them to fight while actually running away. Then, one of his men reported that someone was destroying the Marine ships. Buggy was surprised and asked who was helping them. It was Crocodile destroying the ships. Seeing this, everyone thought Crocodile was Buggy's helper who came to save their boss. Buggy was sweating because he knew Crocodile was way more scary than the Marines. Crocodile came in and told Buggy he thought he could just leave without paying him back and demanded his debt. Buggy said he had too many mouths to feed, and since the giants who made him money had quit, he had no money to pay him back. Crocodile suggested if he sold Buggy's delivery, he'd get his money back. He added that he needed money for his company. Buggy begged Crocodile to let him help with all the work and just keep him on board. But Buggy made a big mistake. His men made posters that showed Buggy in the center, bigger than Crocodile and Mihawk, making it look like he was their boss. This happened because his men really believed he was their great and powerful leader. The poster reached the Marines, who saw Buggy as a threat since he was once part of the Pirate King's crew, just like Shanks. The Marines also thought Mihawk and Crocodile came to help him that day. With Cross Guild getting more powerful around the world, they put out new bounties. Crocodile's bounty went up to 1,965,000,000. Mihawk's bounty went up to 3,590,000,000. And Buggy's bounty went up to 3,189,000,000 as their supposed leader and new Emperor of the Sea. Because of all this, Mihawk said he wasn't interested in being an emperor, and Buggy should deal with his own problems. So, Crocodile let Buggy go and ordered him to keep acting like the emperor since everyone already thought he was. Now Marco is traveling on Shanks' ship. After a short while, Shanks tells Marco they're near his island now. Marco says, "Oh really?" and gets ready to leave. He thanks Shanks for the ride. Shanks stands up and says he thought Marco was going to join his crew. Marco smiles and says he doesn't want to babysit pirates from behind anymore. Shanks laughs and asks Ben Beckman to confirm, saying, "Marco's not that kind of person, right?" But Beckman tells Shanks that's exactly what he is, making Shanks sink down sad. Marco tells the crew he'll see them later. Shanks accepts, and they go their separate ways. Before leaving with Shanks, Marco had spent some time looking around Wano country. During that time, Sanji was really sad when Yamato said they won't be joining the crew. Sanji said he doesn't know how he'll live without them and started sulking. Luffy asked Yamato why not. Yamato said they all heard what Kinemon said about the admiral who attacked them, right? Luffy asked what happened. Yamato said since Kaido was gone, Wano became weak and needed protection from outsiders. She couldn't ignore this. Luffy agreed with Yamato and said in that case he leaves Momo and everyone else in her hands. At that time, Marco came flying over and told Luffy he was going to get a ride out of Wano. They said their goodbyes after Luffy thanked him for saving his life back at Marineford. Marco nodded. Back then, Akainu tried to kill the crying Luffy just like he did Ace. Marco stepped in and told Jinbei to take Ace's little brother to safety. Marco said Luffy was Ace's reason for living, and not saving him would have been shameful. Then Marco said everyone wanted to save Luffy back then. When Marco asked Jinbei about something, Jinbei said he didn't know what happened in the past, and Marco smiled. Marco then told Luffy this is his era, and encouraged them to keep going on their journey. Luffy promised Marco they would meet again and said goodbye. After that, Marco flew back to his island. On the other side, on Amazon Lily, the whole island was destroyed. An older woman was looking around saying how dare men enter this place that's been forbidden to them since ancient times. She saw that half the mountain was gone and the city was badly damaged. Hancock said this happened because she wasn't there. She wondered where she should go. Hancock then said if this kind of thing happens again, she wants to marry Luffy. The older woman said Hancock's always wanted that. She added that since the government got rid of the warlord system, the Marines can attack any time, breaking the promise that men would not enter Amazon Lily. About a week ago, Marine ships came and attacked the island. They destroyed the defense gate and female warriors rushed to fight. While the Marine leader was ordering his men to attack, an arrow hit the Marines. They looked back and saw the female warriors pointing their weapons at them from the cliff. The girls yelled that no one is allowed to leave alive once they step foot on Amazon Lily. Then, Kobe gave orders for the new Seraphim Pacifistas to move forward and for camera crews to record everything. After that, 2 children with wings and flames on their backs came out of the ships. While the women were fighting the Marines non-stop, Sweet Pea suddenly saw the new pacifistas coming from the other side. She shouted that no one else is allowed to come closer and ran to stop them with another girl following. But a female Seraphim appeared in front of Sweet Pea and hit her down. Sweet Pea and the other girl went flying. The warrior who was following asked who that pacifista was and how a child could fight like that. Sweet Pea looked at the pacifista and it looked exactly like Hancock when she was young. Meanwhile, Yamakaji was watching the fight and asked if Hancock still hadn't come out. He ordered the remaining ships to stay put. Then someone looked behind the Marines and saw Blackbeard's ship coming and everyone panicked. Blackbeard was disappointed that someone else got there before him. He used his powers and everything instantly scattered and fell apart. He was happy and ordered his men to go to shore. Blackbeard told Hancock he came there for her. He said the government shouldn't get their hands on her. Love power. One of his men said he liked Hancock's beautiful face and wanted to cut off her head and keep it. Another said they should capture her alive and do terrible things to her. Blackbeard told them once he got Hancock's power, they could do whatever they wanted. While everyone was enjoying this, some Marines came to stop them. They told Blackbeard to stop and contacted headquarters, but headquarters just told them to wait for confirmation and hung up. Everyone panicked. Blackbeard told them not to get in his way and attack them, then kept moving forward. The Marines kept fighting them. Then Kobe arrived, upset that Blackbeard was trying to capture Hancock. Kobe told Hancock they don't want to fight her. If she agrees to surrender, they will leave right away. Hancock's sisters were angry. Hancock said, "That's nonsense. She won't bow down to anyone." At the same time, Blackbeard's men got beaten by the pacifistas. Hancock came out, and because of her beauty, everyone was stunned and couldn't fight. Kobe was frustrated by this. This allowed her to use slave arrow and turn most of them into stone. The pacifistas tried to attack Hancock, but their attacks destroyed those who were petrified, so Kobe, who was unaffected by Hancock's powers, ordered them to stop. Hancock spotted Kobe in the crowd and tried to kick him. Kobe was shocked and tried to stop her, but she was caught by Blackbeard. Blackbeard grabbed Hancock and made fun of his men who got turned into stone statues. He added that with his dark power, he can cancel out her devil fruit ability. The girls noticed that Hancock's power was fading. Blackbeard told Hancock to give up her power. Hancock said back that her power only works because of her beauty and it wouldn't work for an ugly face like his. Hancock said if she dies, the people turned into stone would never go back to normal, and she can't undo it for anyone else. The fight stopped there. The girls thanked Rayleigh for saving them. They thought Rayleigh had died and were surprised to see him show up suddenly. Rayleigh explained that the world is no longer safe because of Vegapunk's new weapon. The Marine attacks, the new weapon, and Blackbeard's actions made them think their lives were over, and they thanked Rayleigh for coming. Rayleigh admitted honestly he only helped because of the situation. He added that since he's old now, he can't fight Blackbeard directly anymore. Rayleigh remembered the fight. Blackbeard was holding Hancock by the neck. Blackbeard said her power is amazing, but her neck is so thin. He added that because of her love fruit, all the Marines and his own men got turned to stone. Hancock begged Blackbeard to let go of her neck if he wanted his men turned back to normal. Blackbeard laughed, not caring, while Kobe didn't know what to do. Then, Blackbeard looked at Kobe and brought up the Rocky Port incident. He told Kobe it was only thanks to him that Blackbeard managed to defeat Wang Ji and become the ruler of Pirate Island Hachinosu. Blackbeard asked Kobe if he lets go of Hancock's neck, would his men go back to normal? Kobe wanted to save the soldiers and said he trusts the promise would be kept. But Blackbeard, who doesn't trust anyone, kept choking Hancock's neck and said if he releases her, she might turn him to stone too. Suddenly, a huge burst of hockey came out. Rayleigh said sorry to Hancock for coming late. Blackbeard was shocked and confused. Rayleigh pulled out his sword and said what he's about to do might seem childish, but he will strike down Whitebeard's student. Rayleigh released a massive blast of Conqueror's hockey. During the shockwave, Rayleigh asked Hancock to turn the stone statues back to normal. He told everyone he's watching over this, so no one should keep fighting. He ordered everyone to leave the island once everything was back to normal. Blackbeard's eyes went wide with surprise. Now Rayleigh is telling Hancock that the new human weapons called Seraphim will probably replace the 7 warlords. The women nearby say that even though they attacked those 2 Seraphim, it didn't even leave a scratch. They point out that one of the Seraphim looks exactly like young Hancock. The scene moves to Revolutionary Army headquarters. They're talking about the news of Kobe suddenly going missing. Koala and the others try to comfort each other about Sabo, saying they should be proud of him. They all argue over who's more worried about Sabo. Suddenly, Kuma showed up. He said if Sabo really killed the king, he needs to step in himself. They begged Kuma to tell them what happened, and Kuma said just as everyone expected, with tears in his eyes. Just then, the communications snail started ringing. The Marines were getting ready to catch Sabo's signal. Sabo answered and started by saying, sorry to everyone for causing trouble. At the same time, Luffy shouted on the ship asking how Sabo could kill Vivi's father, meaning Cobra. Robin agreed, saying even if the Revolutionary Army declares war on the Celestial Dragons, Sabo would never do something like that. Sanji prayed for Vivi's safety since she went missing. Zoro saw this and asked Luffy what he's going to do now that Cobra is dead. Luffy said they'll all go to the reverie. Zoro kicked the map table and yelled, asking if Luffy is crazy. He said Luffy is a Yonko now and wants to start a fight with Navy headquarters. Luffy went quiet. Chopper was crying because Cobra, who had been kind to them, had died. He called Sabo heartless. Zoro reminded Luffy he can't just act without thinking. Ace died at the Paramount War, and does he want to do the same thing for Vivi? He warned that they shouldn't rush into enemy territory without information. He added that Luffy doesn't need the foolish clown next to him supporting his every move. Sanji got angry and kicked Zoro, starting a fight between the two like usual. The scene cuts to Robin reading the newspaper about Buggy becoming an emperor. Robin told Luffy that if the news was stressing him out, he should rest. Luffy lay back and said he doesn't think someone like Sabo could kill the king, and a freedom-loving person like him would never do it. Resting on the ship deck, Luffy reflects on the brotherhood oath he made with Ace and Sabo. He then reveals to his crew his members the end of his dream, an ambition even larger than becoming the Pirate King. Though it is not revealed, each of the Straw Hats react with bafflement, with Usopp believing Luffy's dream to be impossible, while Franky and Chopper were amazed and supported the idea. Everyone asks him how he would do that and how Ace and Sabo reacted to that idea back then. Luffy said Shanks cried with tears of joy when he first heard the dream. Finally, Luffy said he will make this dream come true no matter what anyone says, super happy, saying he feels like he's following a disaster by joining the ship. Luffy is laughing like crazy, and Chopper is shouting that Luffy's dream is the best thing ever. Everyone is laughing and saying since they're replacing their lives with someone like this, they have no reason to say no. Franky calls out to Luffy saying he needs to become the Pirate King first for that kind of festival to actually happen. But Robin says to reach the road poneglyph, they first have to cross the red line. Robin warns Franky not to think it's that easy. She explains that the path to the final road poneglyph is super rare and difficult, and no one has found it yet. She adds that, since they don't have enough information, they'll need a lot of luck and coincidence to become the next Pirate King, just like Roger did. Franky argues back that regardless, their captain's dream of becoming a pirate is close now, so they have to find the last poneglyph themselves. At the same time, Luffy is staring up at the clouds. On the other side, Marines are secretly listening to Sabo's phone line again and trying to trace where he is. Morgans is super satisfied with all the chaos his news about Wano caused. After that, more news shows up about the Queen of Amazon Lily being in trouble and the Marines declaring war on the Celestial Dragons. The whole sea is in chaos because of the news that Sabo, the second in command of the Revolutionary Army, killed King Cobra and kidnapped his daughter Vivi. Next, the Elders, also called the Gorosei, are listening to a report on the Lelouch Kingdom. The people of that country captured King Seki and his daughter Princess May, who came back from the Reverie meeting, and they're holding them hostage in his home. They say this country that made a mockery of the entire meeting is the best place for a troublemaker like Sabo. The scene goes back to Kamabaka Queendom, where everyone is happy they reconnected with Sabo. Sabo explains to Dragon that he did not kill King Cobra, and hearing this, everyone is relieved and happy. After that, Sabo starts sweating and reports that he personally saw an unbelievable, strange event during the Reverie. At the same time, clouds are slowly gathering in the sky over Lelouch Kingdom, making the citizens scared. One citizen tells another that he sees something huge in the sky. In one part of the city, King Seki is yelling that if the Navy finds out they've been captured, all the common people will be thrown in jail. The citizens say back that they had no choice but to do this. If King Seki had done something for his country, they wouldn't have had to capture him. The angry King Seki yells back from his cell asking why he should care about low-class common people. At that moment, Sabo is about to talk about the empty throne he saw in Pangaea Castle, and the elders immediately order the phone line to be cut. After that, a huge green beam of light appears in the sky over Lelouch Kingdom, making the citizens panic. Red lightning bolts start falling down like rain over the whole kingdom, and the entire island disappears without a trace. A short while after this happens, we see the Straw Hats surfing and bouncing over huge waves on the sea, and everyone is hanging on tight as usual. Sanji yells to Zoro that he looks weird even though it's so cold, and Zoro says it depends on how much your body can endure. Sanji fires back that others rely on endurance, but Zoro's body is just a slow, fat log that's too dumb to feel anything. So the two of them start arguing and fighting. Nami is frustrated that they can still fight at a time like this. She calls out to Jinbei to watch out for the icebergs, and Jinbei says okay. Jinbei notices the sea is super choppy and orders Franky to pull in the sails. Inside the ship, Robin is reading a book while Chopper is getting ready to go outside, saying he has to deal with the cold himself. Robin compliments Chopper, saying he looked very stylish today. Chopper explains in a heroic way that with the hat Yuta gave him, falling snow is no problem. Nami calls out to Luffy asking what that huge thing is in front of them. They look at what Luffy is pointing at and see a huge, unknown sphere, which makes Nami panic. Jinbei says, based on his experience, it's a warm eddy. He explains that a warm eddy is a massive thing that gathers a huge amount of hot water and steam, lifting it into the air. At that moment, Luffy shouts that there's someone in the whirlpool surprising everyone. Sanji says he feels it too, and judging by the sound, it's a girl's voice. Zoro says either way, if they cut the whirlpool, everyone will be safe and they'll save the girl as well. Zoro smoothly draws his sword and cuts the whirlpool in half with his special technique. On the other side, Chopper, who just came out of the room, gets sucked up by the strong wind. Luffy tries to catch Chopper with his stretchy arm, but he also gets sucked up. After that, as the two of them are flying in the air, Bonnie suddenly comes out from the cut whirlpool and grabs Luffy. Bonnie looks at the Straw Hat crew staring at them and yells to look down, so everyone looks down. Usopp sees a huge, unknown thing before everyone else and runs away screaming for everyone to run. On the other side, a huge sea monster is trying to swallow the entire Sunny ship. Everyone, including Nami, is terrified. The creature swallows the entire ship. Robin yells at Jinbei to escape as fast as he can. So Jinbei quickly spins the ship's rudder, trying to escape from the monster's jaws. Just as they manage to escape, a huge robot shark jumps onto the water. At that moment, Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie fall into the sea. Seeing this, Jinbei immediately jumps into the water. When Jinbei reaches the sea, Luffy and the others are unconscious and drifting. Frankie is holding the ship's rudder and watching the robot shark on the other side. After that, he thinks of a good way to deal with the shark and starts turning on the paddle motor at the bottom of the Sunny ship. As the powerful paddle motor starts spinning, the entire ship moves with great speed, but the robot shark targets Jinbei, who's underwater. Usopp is screaming at Frankie to quickly dodge, but suddenly a huge cannonball from underwater hits the ship's bottom. The entire ship spins violently and everyone falls into the water, slowly sinking into the sea with the Sunny ship. On the other side, Jinbei quickly grabs Luffy, who's drifting with the current, and with his shoulder boost he rises back to the surface. But when they reach the surface, they don't see the ship, and the robot shark is waiting to attack them. So Jinbei makes Luffy and the others hold their breath and tells them he's going to dive down to the seafloor. After that, with a huge explosion, Jinbei and Luffy dive into the sea, and on the other side, Frankie is watching the sinking crew members. Sanji is holding Robin, and Nami and others are trying to save themselves. The robot shark reaches them all and tries to swallow the whole ship, but suddenly, another robot appears. This robot that just showed up punches the robot shark straight in the face and sinks it down to the seafloor. Next, Tashigi is looking after the children. Tashigi is telling the children that if they're good, they should drink the medicine she gives them. The children say the medicine tastes really bad, but because they respect Tashigi, they drink it all down. Some Marines explain that after drinking this medicine, the children's bodies will start going back to their original size. Mocha asks Tashigi if their size is really getting smaller after drinking the medicine. Tashigi says Mocha's appearance has changed quite a bit since they first met. She tells the children to keep being brave because the time to go home is getting closer. Actually, these children were kidnapped by Caesar Clown on Punk Hazard and were used for major experiments. But luckily, Luffy and Law showed up on that island, defeated Caesar, and rescued the children. Since the rescue, they've been getting treatment. That's why all these children are under Navy supervision and are trying to return to their normal size with treatment. Mocha then says she misses Chopper. At that moment, Rear Admiral Dahl of the Navy comes into their room and takes Tashigi out. Next, Dahl asks Tashigi if she can't do anything to save Kobe. Tashigi says she can't control such matters and that Kobe was once a junior she respected. At that time, Hibari and the others are asking help from Prince Groose to search for the missing Kobe. Groose explains that Hachinosu Island, also called Pirate Island, is the worst pirate island in the world, and no one who's ever gone there has come back safely. He adds that the island is also called Pirate Nest. Hibari, who's crying, says that since Egghead Island is getting closer, if they can get the Seraphim, everything will go smoothly. Dahl says this matter won't be settled so easily. She warns Hibari not to create any more trouble since Kobe is still missing. Next, Bonnie is mad at Luffy, asking how he doesn't know one of the worst generation like her. But Luffy is not listening to her and is playing with Chopper. Bonnie is surprised, saying, "Is this crazy guy an emperor of the sea?" She's also disappointed that the former warlord Jinbei, who's sitting next to her, is acting completely different from what she expected. After that, Bonnie asks Jinbei what's up with the poster. She thought Luffy's hair turned white. Luffy then shows his rubber power and says he is like that when he is free. Bonnie says she's hungry and can't focus on anything. Bonnie explains that they're now on Egghead Island, a government-owned island, and the building they see is Dr. Vegapunk's 500-year-old laboratory. She also says she has some matters that must be settled with Dr. Vegapunk. We then see the Straw Hat Pirates who were saved from sinking by the giant robot, and they're looking at a girl who suddenly came out from the robot's stomach. At that moment, the girl takes off her hat and introduces herself as Dr. Vegapunk, a scientist working for the government. Frankie and the crew are looking at the girl wondering who she is and where she came from. The girl says she can't believe it, and Frankie immediately says he respects Vegapunk. He then happily talks about how he spent 2 months in Vegapunk's research room back Karakuri Island, future country Baltimore, during the 2-year time skip. He's excited to show her all the cool stuff he learned from those research projects. At the same time, Usopp is looking at the giant robot in front of him, super satisfied, realizing it's way bigger than anything he's seen. He shouts that he doesn't even know how much bigger it is than their biggest ship robot, General Frankie. He also yells about how much he wishes Luffy and Chopper could see this. Sanji, as usual, is staring at the super beautiful girl, his face turning red. Then heart shapes come out of his eyes, and he shouts about the unexpected beautiful girl who arrived. At that moment, Robin tells everyone not to get too excited, saying the girl's identity as an ally has never been confirmed. Robin changes her hand shapes, getting ready for combat. The girl greets her back, saying she is an ally, and admits she's Lilith, the evil side of Vegapunk. Lilith explains their research budget is always tight, which is why she's now forced to rob pirates. She starts threatening them, saying she'll spare their lives if they hand over everything they have. Nami argues back, asking what do they even have in this calm ocean, and the two start arguing about past events, including the ship sinking, and how she shouldn't be doing this now. Finally, Lilith shows off her sea monsters and demands they give everything if they don't want to die. Everyone's eyes go wide seeing the sea monsters. At that moment, a call reaches Lilith, and she angrily tells the person on the other side to shut up. Shaka scolds she's robbing again and tells her to keep her dignity as a scientist. Shaka warns Lilith not to mess with the leader of the pirate group she's robbing, saying he's a dangerous Yonko, an emperor of the sea. Shaka tells her to look at the green-haired ship even without their leader. Shaka explains that this guy's bounty is worth 1 billion, and his name is Zoro, the pirate hunter. Shaka warns Lilith to be careful, saying that even though he looks calm, if they touch or mess with his crewmates, he could kill her instantly right there. Shaka adds that since the woman named Robin is also behind him, the one truly in trouble right now is Lilith, not them. As the call ends, Lilith starts sweating and Zoro begins to speak, warning her to do what they say if she doesn't want to die. In the next scene, Luffy asks Bonnie if the path they're taking is correct. Bonnie tells Luffy she was only a child when she was here and it's just a normal military base. She continues saying that depending on the answer she gets when she meets Vegapunk, she might even kill him, speaking in an angry tone as they keep walking. After that, Bonnie explains that her father was turned into a cyborg. She says her father has now lost all his memories from his human life and no longer knows who he is. As she explains that her father is now just a science weapon, her tears start falling. Jinbei says he's sorry to hear that news. At that point, Bonnie says this is why she wants to fight the crazy scientist named Vegapunk. At that moment, Luffy climbs a staircase, excited that they'll soon reach the ground floor. Eventually, they reach the end of the staircase and all of them arrive at the top of Egghead, the island of future science. Seeing the super strange and beautiful science city, Luffy is filled with excitement and looks around with his mouth wide open. He starts shouting, looking at all the strange things in the sky, saying, "That's awesome, that's cool." Instantly, Luffy runs toward a giant robot and a dragon fighting in front of him, trying to attack them. But the dragon turns out to be only a science hologram and he falls back to the ground. On the other side, Luffy sees a huge feast of different fruits and desserts and gets ready to eat with the others. But this time too, the feast of fruits and desserts turns out to be a science hologram. Luffy, not understanding this, gets sad, saying they must have died without knowing it and became ghosts. Jinbei tells him not to get discouraged without knowing the reason and says he'll check the situation, putting his hand into the fruit feast. After that, he explains it's a hologram, and to explain it in simple terms, it's a 3-dimensional image. At that moment, a giant girl arrives behind everyone and explains all these things are because of her invention, the AC Island. She also says the whole island's temperature is controlled by moving heat from the Earth's core to keep it warm. Luffy and the others are shocked that this little girl is bigger than everything. The little girl says they can look around the whole island if they like, saying she has work to do, and walks past them. She also points to a large machine behind them, saying they can take and eat whatever they like from the machine if they're hungry. Because of this, Luffy and Bonnie take and eat different foods from the food machine and are happy. On the other side, the little girl tells Jinbei the machine is her own invention, a food-making machine, which can cook about 500 types of dishes within a short time if the raw materials are inside. After that, she jumps back onto the staircase and comes back down after punching the hologram dragon. At the same time, the little girl shows off her light-pressure gloves and explains that if you use these gloves, you can touch the hologram. She introduces herself as Atlas, a scientist of the whole island, and the scene ends there. In the next scene, a long-nosed CP0 agent is explaining there's only one scientist named Vegapunk. At that moment, a girl interrupts him, which makes the long-nosed man angry. He continues his explanation saying, listen, there's only one Vegapunk in this world. He explains this person is a genius who does more work than all the other scientists in the world. And because he doesn't have enough time, he took all the help from the government and has now split himself into 6 people. He explains these are called satellites and are named Shaka, Atlas, Pythagoras, Edison, Lilith, and the last one, York. Even though they're called clones, Lucci thinks it's impossible, but he's interested in what it would feel like to be a genius. He adds that since their crew is being explained to by one of the most useful scientists on Earth, they must be super careful once everything is finished. He also explains the complexity about the incidents that happened in the Luluzia Kingdom recently, saying that if this mission is completed, they'll all become targets. In the next scene, Jinbei asks the little girl if she's the famous scientist Vegapunk, as he's never heard of him being a child. He also says that given her body size, she must have been born the biggest baby on Earth. But the little girl says nothing back, just looks at the full Luffy and Chopper and asks if they're really full. At that moment, a robot dog arrives. The robot dog's name is Recycler, and its job is to collect leftovers and waste and recycle them into raw materials. Seeing this, Luffy says so garbage is this guy's food, and throws his cola can at the dog. But the system doesn't accept messy littering, so the dog grabs Luffy's arm and starts biting him. Because of this, Luffy, Bonnie, and Chopper have to run away to escape. In the next scene, Luffy thanks the little girl for the food. The little girl says she has work to do and must leave, telling them to enjoy their time on Egghead, and she flies up using her jet power. After that, she looks at a hologram number and punches it hard. At the same time, she looks at a crowd of people who suddenly appear and is disgusted, saying, "These guys' fashion is the style of angry people seen in parades." At that moment, Luffy enters a strange building and walks toward a clothing-making machine. Strange shoes and clothes come out of the machine and are instantly put on Luffy's body. After that, Luffy comes out of the room looking stylish and shows off his outfit to Bonnie and the others. He then shouts excitedly that if they also want to wear cool outfits like this, they should go into the room and press whatever buttons they want. At that point, Bonnie and everyone else follow Luffy's suggestion and enter, choosing and wearing the clothes they like, and come back out. Bonnie warns Luffy not to be careless since they're trespassers and says she has to leave to investigate. At that moment, Luffy gets a strange feeling, so he jumps onto the building to check the other side. After that, Luffy sees Kuma in a police uniform walking through the crowd, and hearing this, Jinbei's face immediately changes. On the other side, Kuma is scanning the city one by one with his radar looking for something. Since Kuma has found them, Luffy immediately orders his crew to run. After that, with Kuma chasing them, Luffy and the others run like crazy, and at one point, Luffy gets attacked by Kuma's large laser beam. So with no escape, Luffy is forced to get ready to fight back and starts dodging Kuma's shots. At that moment, Bonnie suddenly steps in and kicks Luffy across the face, and the shocked Luffy gets mad at Bonnie. But Bonnie says nothing back. Tears fall and she cries, saying he is my father. So everyone, including Luffy, realizes that Bonnie is Kuma's daughter and is left shocked. On the other side, Kuma, who has no consciousness, is getting ready to attack and finish off his daughter with his laser beam. Finally, Kuma fires at his daughter, and seeing this, Luffy rushes in desperately to save Bonnie. In the next scene, Bepo is singing a song on the ship's deck saying it's a beautiful day. His crewmates tell him to move, complaining that with his dirty body in the way, their cleaning work will never be finished. The two sides start arguing, and on the other side, Law feels something as he looks at the sudden appearance of smoke and mist. In fact, those fumes and mist are coming from Blackbeard's crew, and seeing this, Law orders his people to get ready for battle. On the other side, Blackbeard tells his people to start the sea party, and the scene ends there. Blackbeard is attacking Law. So Law is running, and everyone is trying to find an escape route underwater. Someone is shouting to quickly seal the water leaks, but Blackbeard says, "Law, you won't escape." He attacks with his power, even turning the water into whirlpools. Because of this, Law's crew is super scared and says that if they get hit one more time, the ship will be completely destroyed. Law tells them to bring the ship back to the surface and everyone agrees. After that, they're shocked to see Law turning into a woman, and Beeple also turns into a woman. Everyone is shocked, and Law notices he's becoming weaker because of this change and is upset. But two of Law's crew look at Law and say, "You're cute." Seeing this, Law tells his crew to shut their mouths, but the crew says it's cute when their captain speaks like that. At that moment, their bodies also start to change, and their body parts turn into different things. Because of this, everyone is panicking, and Law tells them not to touch the infected spots, saying he learned one thing in the fight with the Emperor of the Sea, and that is they just need to break through it. Law then says a large amount of hockey can stop the Devil Fruit's power and fully unleashes his power. Law struggles with all his strength to get his body back, and when they reach the shore, they all change back to male form and run onto the land. From above, Doc Q is watching and asks if they broke through the power. After that, Doc Q says he thinks they must have really enjoyed the experience of turning into women. Law's crew sees this and says the mountain is shaking. After that, they realize the mountain isn't moving on its own, but someone is controlling it. Burgess says it's his strength. After that, he throws the mountain at Law's ship. Everyone is terrified, but Law uses his room power and cuts the mountain, flying toward them into pieces. At that moment, Blackbeard also arrives near them. Law turns and looks at Blackbeard. Blackbeard greets Law, saying it's been a long time. Law asks him, "What are you doing?" Blackbeard tells him not to be angry, saying we are both members of Worst Generation. At that moment, Doc Q is telling Blackbeard that his horse is saying that Blackbeard is too heavy, and he feels the same. Blackbeard doesn't care. He says he can't believe Law didn't die at Wano, but says that's also a good thing. Blackbeard says since all three of them came out of Wano, it was certain someone would arrive here. After that, Blackbeard asks Law how many road poneglyphs he has. At that, Law is smiling. After that, Law tells Blackbeard he has as many as Blackbeard has, and says the one who wins takes everything. Next, Law tells his people what to do. At that point, Law uses room and covers Blackbeard and his crew. Then he slices the fast horse Blackbeard is riding into two. Because of this, the fast horse can't fly and falls down. Seeing this, Law's crew is happy and says it's been a long time, but Law says that's not enough yet. At that moment, Blackbeard is surprised and says he didn't know Law could do that, asking if it's an awakened power. He then uses his power to keep himself from falling into the sea. Because of this, the ground shakes and Law and his crew have to brace themselves to avoid being blown away. On the other side, Blackbeard is watching this satisfied and happy. At that moment, Doc Q looks at Stronger and asks if he's dead. After that, since Stronger the horse is broken and running away with its lower half, after that, Doc Q throws his explosive apples at Law's ship. Everyone is terrified and says those are explosive apples, and they try to escape. At that moment, Law's crew members who are in the sea use their power to suck up the seawater and throw the falling apples into the water bubble. Because of this, the apples explode in the air and Doc Q is quite surprised. Law's crew members laugh happily and say they were born in the North Blue, so don't think they can be beaten in the sea, and say they'll flip the ship over. Then they dive back in and move quickly like fish. At that moment, Law is watching Blackbeard. After a moment, Beppo hears someone taking aim with a gun, so he listens to the sound and tells Jean-Bart there's a sniper at the 3 o'clock position. So Jean-Bart uses his body to block the bullet coming toward Law. At that moment, Law uses K-Room and stabs Blackbeard in the chest. But since Blackbeard is unharmed, he tells Law it doesn't hurt at all. Law then uses Shock Will attack. Because of this, Blackbeard is thrown back and starts falling down. Seeing this, Van Otter looks at Blackbeard and says he got hit because he was careless. Then he goes near Blackbeard and asks if he wants to go back to the flagship, but Blackbeard says he wants to keep going and says they must keep applying pressure. Hearing this, Van Augur agrees and takes him onto the shore. Seeing this, Law is surprised, but he smiles and asks Blackbeard all your core crew members have eaten devil fruits, haven't they? And implies they're weak in the sea. Also, Law's people are attacking Blackbeard and his ship from the water. Because of this, the whole ship is shaking and everyone is terrified. At that moment on the ship, a guard is carrying a prisoner into a cell. The guard says the ship shaking must be because of the waves. At that moment, a girl is locked in the room. She's Pudding. Pudding is told that the people fighting outside are the ones who killed her mother. Also, she's told that if the legend is true, changes will happen, and she's told to know her place. Earlier, Van Augur and Kuzan arrived at Whole Cake Island and came looking for Pudding. They attacked everyone with ice and turned them into ice statues. Seeing this, Cracker tried to fight back, but he got hit by the attack and turned into ice. After that, they captured Pudding, their target, and took her away. After that, Pudding gives a scary smile and says, "I know what you want," and says she won't let them do it. After that, Sakazuki is watching the battle between Law and Blackbeard. They're watching the situation carefully first. At that moment, Law first attacks Blackbeard with his rocks. Blackbeard is blocking this. At that point, Law uses K-Room to slash Blackbeard, but this time Blackbeard blocks it and they're competing in strength one-on-one. Law is fighting with all his strength to defeat Blackbeard.